Welcome to EXP, TED-style talks where we're farming XP for your brain, one idea at a time. I'm Christine Tomlinson, and today we're diving into the Psychgeist of Pop Culture Dragon Age to explore how we understand identity and ourselves through video games. You're here, you're curious, let's earn some EXP. I'm Christine Tomlinson, and today we're going to be talking about the Psychgeist of Pop Culture Dragon Age. Video games can be sandboxes where we try on identities and play with different elements of who we are. What type of leader are we? How will we impact the world around us? What alliances will we forge or damage? While we can play with our identity in our world, in games like Dragon Age, we have the chance to save, undo, resave, and craft the perfect self for the story that we want to tell. Now, obviously, there is the caveat that we can only play within the sandbox that we're provided with, but Dragon Age often presents us with challenges of choice. We decide what path to forge with our characters. Will we be aggressive, supportive, or sarcastic? What decisions will we make to help our companions find themselves? Do we fight for change or maintain the status quo? Video games, especially role-playing games like these ones, do tend to foreground our choices to some degree. As the player, we're the center of the story. In these games, though, we're not only responsible for who we become, but we also influence the characters that we meet. With this in mind, we can think about identity in a few ways, and how these games can highlight what identity means, how we develop it, and why video games help us think about who we are ourselves. In this talk, we're going to explore identity in Dragon Age through a few different theories. First, role-based identities, next, in-groups and out-groups, then understanding ourselves through others, and finally, learning about ourselves through play. We form ideas about who we are in part from influences in society and culture, in addition to the messages that we receive from each other. Part of this is understanding what roles we're expected to fill and what comes along with those roles. These role expectations can clash with our personalities, hopes, and desires, though. Take Alistair from Dragon Age Origins, for example. He's a plucky, awkward, funny character who's been dragged along into specific roles his entire life. He's also next in line to be king, much to his distress. He knows that this role clashes with who he is as a person. It's stressful, demanding, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for relaxing and eating cheese. Not that his role as a fighter leaves much room for that, but there are fewer eyes on him there. In any role, identity, or space we occupy, we also receive and develop messages about those who are like us or not like us. Understandings of people who are like us, identifying them as in-group, or viewing people as different or not like us, seeing them as out-group, results in changes in how we interact with one another, how we see each other, what we think about one another based on assumptions that are linked to these groupings. Having these dynamics and the resulting labels that get applied to people can result in the worst cases in shunning, fear, and separation. In the example of Dorian from Dragon Age Inquisition, we see these dynamics come into play very clearly. Dorian's from an area called Tevinter, a maligned and misunderstood region to the north. The region has different customs, namely a different sect of religion, and a privileging of magic users. In the south, where most of the games take place, magic users are seen as outgroup. They receive negative treatment. They're seen as dangerous and in need of control. Being a magic user from Tevinter, Dorian is immediately treated with suspicion by many people in the game, even leading to a confrontation between the player and a character named Mother Giselle over how appropriate his presence is in what becomes the Inquisition. Dorian can be supported and embraced by the player and their group, but he's always treated with suspicion at first because he's seen as different and therefore scary. Clearly, we're also getting ideas about who we are through how people react to us, how they interact with us, and how they treat us. This too can lead to changes in how we understand ourselves because of the pressures that are put on us as we occupy the world. If people commonly react to us with cruelty or fear, we might develop a negative sense of self, for example. In video games, though, our input as players means that we can also actively shape others with that input, literally clicking buttons to produce new senses of self in our companions. A good example of this is Cole from Dragon Age Inquisition, a spirit turned human whose fate lies in the hands of the player, who has to contend with the opinions of everyone around them as they decide who Cole is. Cole knows that people perceive perceive him differently. Some view him as a demon, some think of him as a spirit, and some label him as just a kid trying to figure out how to interact with the world and the people around him. The player and Cole both hear these messages, slowly trying to form an idea of who Cole is and ultimately could be, highlighting the pressures that the opinions of others can place on us as we learn who we are. These ideas of identity are not confined to our characters and who we meet in-game. We are in part in charge of this identity sandbox, but we also examine ourselves through play, our decisions, the choices we struggle with, which characters we bond with. All of these parts of play can help us understand ourselves more deeply. Players talk about how difficult it is to make decisions like choosing if Alistair should be king or making choices for Cole and determining who he becomes. We play these games and we have to decide if we're going to use these characters as pawns in a strategy or take the route of compassion where we understand what these characters want and what will make them happy. Ultimately, this tells us about ourselves too. Are we pragmatic and willing to do anything to win, or are we concerned with others and how they might be impacted, even if they're made of pixels? These games deal directly with identity in so many ways, letting players explore who they are in games, but also letting us grapple with questions about who and what is right when it comes to cultural and social pressures on people to develop specific identities and ways of being. We're responsible for figuring ourselves out in these digital worlds while also assisting the characters that we meet, becoming a force for support or estrangement, taking in messages from the in-game culture and applying them. Along the way, we can also learn about ourselves and what we value through the choices we make and the character we become. And with that, you've just earned some serious EXP. If you liked this EXP talk, you can read more about the Psychgeist of Pop Culture Dragon Age, where we dive deeper into concepts of identity and play. And the best part, it's completely free to download. Grab your copy and keep farming that XP.